Hey everyone, we're taking healthy to the next level with our Salmon al Pastor. Check this out. Okay everyone, our lentils have been soaked. Now we're gonna start putting everything in the pot. I am using a Dutch oven, which is just basically a thick type of pot. And then to that I'm gonna add a little bit of oil. And we're gonna start with the mirepoix, onions, carrots, and celery. All right, so we're gonna get started making our glaze or al pastor basting sauce for our fish. So we're gonna put in our achiote paste in there, our red wine vinegar, our pineapple juice, and then our spices. We have dry oregano, cumin, chili powder, a little bit of chili flake, salt and pepper, and then a little bit of olive oil, garlic powder, and make sure your achiote paste is completely dissolved. All right, so now that we have our achiote paste, what makes al pastor, we're gonna marinate our fish. So we have our 2 pieces of salmon here. These are kind of large, they're about 7 ounces. By all means, one could be even good for 2 people. I'm just placing them in this little Ziploc bag, and then we're gonna pour our marinade inside the bag. Make sure you get all of it in there. Get the air out of the bag, then close it up, and then you can rub it in a little bit with your hands. And this is gonna go in the refrigerator for a good 2 hours before we're ready to sear it. Okay, we started getting a little bit of color, and I noticed that it could use a little bit more oil, so we're adding that in there. But the veggies are starting to get tender, so at this point, remember this is sort of the flavoring for our lentils as well, right? We're gonna add the garlic. Our lentils that have been drained already and they were soaking, remember? We're gonna mix those together. We're gonna add salt. And a little bit of pepper. And our bay leaf. And now we're gonna cover with water, which is gonna be about 4 cups of water, just room temperature water. We're gonna let this come to a boil and then lower it to simmer, and then we're gonna add our veggies, which today we have some carrots and some zucchini. And that is gonna add volume to the dish, so it's gonna be great. So our water is boiling, and as you can see, there's a little bit of foam that sets on top. And this happens with any legume, any bean or anything like that you're making. Also happens with like stalks when you make them. So we're skimming the top, and we're getting rid of that. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just the impurities from whatever it is that you're cooking. So we're just getting that foam out of the way. And then we're gonna lower our heat, add our vegetables, and keep cooking our lentils. All right, so our salmon has been marinating for 2 hours, and you can see what beautiful like orange reddish glow it has. And I want to show you one more thing. Also, before we sear the salmon, you want to make sure that you kind of lightly tap the excess liquid, especially the stuff that kind of drips out there. And then as you can see, this fillet looks pretty good in the sense that it's even. On this side, the belly or the thickness of this part of the salmon is much more wide than this side over here. So this little skinny part is gonna overcook. So a trick that we use is you decide what's gonna be the presentation side and then you fold it. So now the whole salmon is about the same thickness and it's going to cook at the same time. So we're just gonna lightly press, and then the fish itself, the flesh is going to attach to the other part, and you'll see that when we do this. So we're gonna go into a nice non-stick pan that can fit both pieces of fish. And I have that here, and it's been heating up for about a minute, and we're gonna add about a tablespoon of oil. This is a neutral oil. Today we're using canola oil. You don't need a lot of oil because otherwise your fish is already, salmon is a little bit oily. The main thing with fish is not to mess with it too much. So you can hear that. Once you know that your pan's a little bit hot, and you can just splash a little bit of that liquid and you know it's good. Don't be afraid. Do not throw your fish in. Just let it slowly drop. See how I'm putting the thin end to the outside? And I'm not afraid of burning my hands because I'm not gonna burn my hands if I don't throw it. What's gonna burn your hands is the oil when you splatter it. And then this is the other piece that we folded down. We keep the fold. And then we're gonna let them be for about 2 minutes. All right, our salmon is finishing cooking on the second side. It's gonna take about 5 minutes. And then I thought we'll make a topping that reminds us of what al pastor is, which is this delicious pork marinated tacos that have pineapple. And then you put a little radish on the side and some chili. So we're gonna make, think of it like a pico de gallo, I guess. So we're gonna make it with a little bit of onion. And this is probably the smallest amount compared to the other ingredients. So we have about a teaspoon of white onion that I rinsed so it's not as strong. And then about a tablespoon of chopped radish. And then we're gonna go with a tablespoon of chopped pineapple. And we have a few serrano chilies. I like chilies. I just cut them really thin. So we're gonna add a few in there. And then to get everything wet, we're gonna add some lime juice. And then we're gonna tear some, this is cilantro. You can use parsley if you don't like cilantro. Some people don't like cilantro for some reason. And then we're gonna go with olive oil, which is not very Mexican, but I just like olive oil and a lot of things I prepare. And then we're gonna go with pepper, and we're gonna go with a pinch of salt. You wanna do this kind of at the last minute, so it's nice, crunchy, and fresh. We're just gonna give it a light mixture. And I like keeping the cilantro kind of chunky, so it just doesn't, you actually get a good bite of cilantro in your bite. So in order to taste something like this, if you don't, you want to kind of get a little bit of that liquid, because that's going to tell you if it's salty or if it's too citrusy or something. That to me tastes pretty good, and the pineapple is going to give it that like sweetness and brightness to the dish. So I'm turning my salmon off. Just remember, it's going to take about 6-8 minutes depending on the thickness of your salmon, and then we're going to start plating. So we're going to start with our lentil stew. Remember, this is a full vegan dish right here. So you don't need to add the salmon if you don't want to. I have learned in my later years that less is more. Oh, cool. I was about to have to do the dishes. So this is our bay leaf. If you get this in your plate, then you have to do the dishes. So somebody else is gonna do the dishes today here. And we're gonna go in the middle of the plate with our stew. So it's very moist and kind of juicy and flavorful. But remember, this is the vegan part of the dish, and it's got a good amount of vegetables, so we put the zucchini and the carrots in there. So you want enough to be able to lay your salmon on top. So just like anything else we do, we already put the effort into making it pretty, so we're gonna start cleaning up a little bit. Now we're gonna get our fish in here, and I have my fish spatula here, and I'm gonna show you what our fish looks like really quick. And then I'm gonna grab one. And you see how it looks nice and like caramelized and seared, and it looks like a piece of wild salmon because of that marinade that we use. And this is a large portion, so this is about a 6-ounce piece of fish. So you can do half of it, and then we're gonna come in here with our pineapple salsa, I guess, or pico de gallo, and we're just gonna go and put some in the middle there. If you drop some on the side, that's perfectly fine, because that's what's gonna make it good. And then some of that juice, let that drip into the fish. And then just because I just love olive oil, we're gonna go with one little round of olive oil in there. And then that is it. That is the dish. This is our salmon al pastor, which sounds kind of crazy, but it's pretty flavorful. It's good for you, it's healthy, and it's not something that's gonna be boring. I think you can make this at home. You can use chicken, you can use, by all means, pork, but I would like for you to try it with a piece of fish. Just do it, you know, maybe once a week or so. So we will see you guys soon, and I'm gonna take a bite of this awesome dish. All right, everyone, I'll see you next week at a seat at my table.